no one likes being sold, and the world is, everyone has become too educated to, whether through the internet or whatever, on all the schemes and everything. Just be authentic, be a person.
Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Smart Agents Podcast. My name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. Today we are joined by Larry Gibbons, president of the Gibbons Group, which was just named one of the top producing teams in the Bethesda, Maryland, Washington, D.C. area. And while we touch on a wide variety of topics, Larry always comes back to the idea of truly being authentic in all of your marketing and content creation. Now, before we get into the day's featured interview, make sure you follow and subscribe to the show on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the list goes on. Also, as you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Click the bell to get notifications each time a new episode is uploaded. Lastly, if you or somebody else on your team has an awesome story to share, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories to share. All right, so on to today's featured interview. I had a great time talking with Larry, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Pretty much the way I like to start everything out is just having you introduce yourself a little bit. Tell me, where you're at and kind of your background in the industry.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned to you prior, local Washington, D.C. area, grew up here, went to grade school, high school here, spent my whole life on the Maryland, D.C. border, and went to University of South Carolina for undergrad for 4 years, graduated, came back, and immediately in June of 2006, I like to tell people that as good as real estate is right now, if you weren't working then, you actually can't imagine how good it was then. It's hard to fathom what it was like when I started. Started at a commercial real estate firm called C.B. Richard Ellis, which is the biggest commercial real estate company in the world. And my very first year at 21 years old, made $150,000 working 100% commission.
Wow.
Anybody, I had no idea what he was doing. Anybody can make money. And then never forget, Bear Stearns goes down in September 2008, and all of a sudden everything went away, changed. Took another job and got into the corporate side. Climbed the ladder in the corporate world, and as I like to say, I took the wrong job with the wrong people, and we had a pretty big falling out. I got fired. They ended up trying to, I don't know if trying to really screw me over on a large chunk of money. Yeah. And so I got fired and I had no job. And this was early 2016. I was one of those kids that got, straight A's, went to graduate school, got my MBA, took every job I was supposed to take.
Right.
And then this happens. Meanwhile, my brother, who's 5 years younger than me, had just kind of started in residential real estate working for a big agent, and he asked if I would come partner with him. I said, sure. And we started a team, and we did 0 deals our first year, our first 6 months. Yeah. And fortunately, 5 years later, we're one of the top producing teams in the Bethesda, Chevy Chase, DC area.
Right,
we
man.
Just won an award for top producers in the biggest local publication.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. So, you've had like a roller coaster. You got into it and was just like boom, rocket ship, off to the races, and then it kind of crashed. I try to tell, I have a lot of friends that are, you didn't have to be that much younger than me to miss that 06, 07 window. I only got about 16 months, and it's selling real estate right now is pretty easy. If you're a real estate agent, there's not a lot of inventory. If you've got listings, you're doing pretty well. It's still not what it was back then. Money was just everywhere. Everybody was making it, and it just
so as things have gotten better over the last 9 months, I continue to tell younger agents, like, save your money.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do what I did, because I certainly didn't save my money at that point. Save your money. Like, it's not always going to be like this. Real estate is a roller coaster. Maybe a 10% dip, but it could also be a 50% dip. You never know.
Right. So as you got things going with your brother and really kind of the way, getting yourself to where you just achieved this award, what were some of those things that you guys were really kind of doing to separate yourself?
Yeah. So in the beginning, we pretty much had no idea what we were doing. I watched everything I could possibly watch. I watched every Tom Ferry video that ever existed. I read the Keller book, $1 Million Agent. I mean, I'm a school guy, went to graduate school. I consumed every bit of information I could. I spent money on everything from websites to leads to everything there was. And there was really only two things that worked. And the second thing I didn't even realize until the last 2 years. But the first thing was, I still have the door hanger here. This guy hands this door hanger on my door the first year I'm in real estate. And I was like, I get a ton of mailers, but I never, ever open them. And I noticed them immediately. I will always remember this guy's name because of this silly door hanger that was hung on my door 5 years ago. So we started out doing door hangers, and that's where we got most of our listings in the beginning. And because we were in the 30 age range, we had a pretty decent vault of buyers. That was really what we were in the beginning. But getting those listings early on was difficult, and the door hangers were what did it. Then about 2 years ago, I realized that I watched a Gary Vaynerchuk video, just trying to consume everything. And he had this idea that it was about content and authenticity and building this brand and this thing that people wanted to be a part of, and creating a group, creating almost like a tribe. Mm-hmm. And so we started producing content, and it was not good, and it's still getting better. But we now have 18,000 followers on Instagram. Mm-hmm. We've got we just started our YouTube channel in January of 2020. Mm-hmm. We're up to 254 followers, which I know may not sound like a lot, but
YouTube is a hard game.
If you've never done it, it is so hard. If you have 100,000 followers or 1,000 followers on YouTube, such hard work.
Yeah.
Instagram is easy once you kind of figure it out. And then LinkedIn, that's pretty easy to grow as well, making those connections. But you can really build a brand and an image just being everywhere on those platforms now. And it's really helped us during the pandemic because we had been doing it for about a year, and we had that foundation for it.
Right. And that whole, everything is about brand building now. Like I mean, you look at even pro sports like basketball, it's not about the team anymore. It is the player. It is players run everything now. And it's strictly brand building. And so taking that same concept,
And I tell everybody, I have so many friends that have gone to, and I'm not looking for TTR or Compass to come after me, but I keep telling all these people that are branded with their company website and everything, like, we have our logo behind me. We're Remax, but as far as anybody's concerned, that's my brand. That's my logo. It's me and that Gibbons Group, that Gibbons Group image. And we carry that with us no matter where we go. And it's your reputation and, that tribe that you've built. But yeah, you're right. It's, NBA players jump teams every year now. You root for the guy. Right. But the biggest thing we learned is it just has to be, as a young agent, you get so overwhelmed and so worried, and all you can really do is do the right things every single day, day in and day out, over and over and over again until you can't even see straight. And you just have to trust me when I say that it will eventually pay off. Because I can tell you, I've searched everywhere, and there is no secret answer. There's nothing you're missing. It's just the repetition of doing it correctly every single day.
Right. Well, and what's funny about that is, you talk about there's no right answer, but there is so much in the conversation of creating content. There's so much content out there that you can get overwhelmed with it. How do you pick, where you focus?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of agents actually ask me about this, but we don't do any sales content of any kind. Our content is, we used to, if you look at our Instagram, but I had a conversation with someone, and we were talking about content early on, and they were in marketing, and something they said really stuck with me is that it's the authenticity that people really get attracted to. And it has nothing to do with, hey, I can sell your house for the most money. Hey, I can do this. Like, everyone's seen that Instagram and no one likes it. No one follows it. Hey, just listed, just sold. Like, who cares? Like, who cares?
Right.
But what people like is like the funny stuff that happens in real estate. And every real estate agent has that. Like, it's a human business. So, when you're doing a showing and the dogs are home, or, when you're trying to get a listing ready and the mom is there trying to get her 3 kids in the car, or you're late for a listing appointment because your kid had something happen, like those kinds of moments people love, and that's what makes you human to them. Like, everyone out there watching that's been cold calling, you've all been hung up on and told that you've all had very mean things said to you. Everyone who's ever cold called has had some really awful stuff said to them, right?
Right. Well, I mean, we all say it when we get cold called. We do it too. Right.
And the reason you do it is because to you, that person is not, sounds terrible, but it's not a person. It's
right.
Just like it's just a voice on the other end of the phone. What social media enables you to do is you're a person. Like, you're someone, you're not this salesperson. You're John Doe with the dog. You're Jane Doe with the 2 kids. You're whatever you are, whatever you're the guy that is always at the farmer's market, or always, doing whatever. And it humanizes you to a level where when you do have those conversations, people start to recognize you as another human, and they attach to you, and they also start to build trust in you just by watching you.
Right. Right. And, well, and with that, at the end of the day, it's social media. It's not, my commercial that, like, the word is social media. Like, be a social person.
No one likes being sold, and the world is, everyone has become too educated to, whether through the internet or whatever, on all the schemes and everything. Just be authentic, be a person, if you're a smart person, be smart. If you're a funny person, be funny, but I try to tell everybody, don't do the salesy thing. You'll never grow. No one will enjoy your content. It will have no lasting impression on anything. And that's what we try to do. We will, our posts are a mixture of my whole family, who's all in real estate. And it's just kind of this wacky group of people doing stuff. And we just put everything, good or bad, on there. We don't try to make the Instagram look like this perfect cookie cutter thing. We'll occasionally share helpful graphics that are educational. This is how you buy a house. You get pre-qualified, you do this, but it's something that if someone read, they would learn something from. They're not being sold. And then property tours, which everybody loves.
Right. So
the more those you do, the better.
Yeah. What are some of the things at first, do you plan out your, besides like the property tours and things like that, but some of this more off the cuff stuff, do you have like notes kind of written down how you plan things out, or is it just straight up off the cuff?
No, it's off the cuff. I actually have really had to hammer this home with everybody I'm the best about it. My brother's getting better, but it's really just like everyone turn your cameras on all the time.
Yeah.
And just let me pick what is going to go on there. The more we record, the better. Just record everything and we'll figure out what to use kind of later. YouTube is, as I'm sure you know, YouTube we have to craft a little more. But for Instagram, for LinkedIn, for TikTok, for Facebook, it's try to be as authentic as humanly possible and try to connect with people. This is going to sound even worse, but you know what people really like when you're doing bad? I hate to say it, but like our posts where like I talk about struggle, like we had an investment property that we couldn't sell for 6 months. I did this weekly video about how hard it was and how it was like kicking our butt. I got more encouraging comments. I got more likes. I got more shares on that stuff than I've ever gotten out of anything else. Like people want to be a part of your struggle. They want to, for the most part, they root for other people. And, if you're going through stuff like that, at least work, if you've got a listing that's sitting, you can share that stuff on, it won't make you look bad. It will make you look human, which is, kind of what Gary talks about and, all those people, like humanizing yourself.
Right. No, exactly. I really like that. What, when it comes to, the, product, the home tours and stuff, are you doing them? A lot of people don't get into that because they think they have to have these, $1,000 cameras and all these crazy lenses. But what are you doing? Yep.
I film everything on my phone. I upgraded the iPhone 12 because I heard the camera was good, but I've never filmed anything on anything but an iPhone. I recently got a mic. Spent $300 on a wireless mic. It's the only piece of equipment I've ever had otherwise. And honestly, the more crafted and I track all the stuff. I watch all this stuff. Mm-hmm. The more authentic. I keep saying that word, but every time I spend time scripting a script and planning it out and doing all this, the video does terribly. But then I throw together like some video of us like moving a couch and not being able to get out of a house and like throwing out a window, and like that gets like 2,000 views. It's like, what? Really? That's what? But people just want to be a part of it. Like I said, build a tribe and be authentic.
Right. What, kind of coming off of the year that you had last year, what are you doing, this year to kind of maintain that momentum and kind of go forward?
Yeah. So the thing we're trying to do is just up everything we've been doing, like really up the content, really be even more authentic, really like, on our website right now, we do a lot of, because of my background, I do a lot of data collection within, that's such a ridiculous word to use there. What word could I use? It's like way more normal. We do a lot of talking to our friends and past clients that take interest in our business. Mm-hmm. I don't know why it's a data collection, but we talk to those people and we say, what is it that you're most interested in that we haven't talked about? What is it about the business that interests you? And we try to kind of focus the content and everything that we're doing based upon that. I think one of the biggest things that I could tell anybody about the content creation is there's so many, I keep saying Tom Ferry's name because it's, and first of all, Tom Ferry, if you do watch this, you've taught me how to do real estate in the beginning, so all the respect in the world. But the track and measure stuff, if you're a new agent, that's all well and good, but the fact of the matter is that it becomes really, really difficult when you're producing content to say, this piece of content produced this lead. And I'll tell you like what I mean by that is I had a buddy that I went to grade school with, and he left our grade school in the 6th grade. We were great friends up until 6th grade. We became Facebook friends when Facebook came out, 2005. He moved to Istanbul with his wife. He lived there for a decade. I have not seen or spoken to him since the 6th grade. He saw one of my videos somewhere. I forget which one it was, but he emailed me. He's like, hey, my wife and I are looking to buy. So I credited the lead to that video. But here was the mistake. He'd been watching the videos all along.
Right.
It had been a fostered relationship just from me continuing to put the stuff out there that he was seeing over and over again. So that idea of associating one-to-one becomes way more difficult when you're producing content. You just need to produce a world that you're kind of everywhere and people are seeing over and over again, you are in real estate. You are in real estate.
Right. Right. It's just that cumulative effect. I mean, you can like the more, like you said, you're inundating your sphere and everybody, you know, that you're constantly telling them, this is what I do. I'm here to help you, you know, so because you might know 15,000 people, but how many of them are ready to sell then and there on that day? But maybe in a year they are.
Exactly. And that's why the content should be somewhat interesting because those people are going to start to tune you out after a while. And I don't know where the world's going. I don't have a crystal ball, but at least in my world right now, people have become a lot more antisocial. So the real estate agents that were getting all their business from networking events and happy hours and all these things, like what are you doing now that's producing business for you? Because those things probably won't exist for at least another year, possibly longer. So that's where social media becomes that happy hour. It becomes that thing. And people respond so much better to a DM than they do an email. I mean, how many spam emails do you get in your Gmail every day? Like, because you know what you don't skip over is a direct message from somebody in your Instagram.
Right.
Nobody skips that. Everybody reads those. Yeah. I mean, even people that gets thousands of them say that they read them. So I think that those direct messaging platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, are far more powerful than email is right now in terms of, at least from what we're seeing, open rates, responses, more importantly. And, you know, iPhones now on text message are filtering spam.
Right.
You know, so you have to find some way to be able to break through. And that's, I think, again, social media platforms is a great way to do that.
Right. Well, man, I really appreciate it. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I really appreciate this is, you know, it's so awesome listening to people that have kind of figured out their social media, you know, kind of structure and how they're doing things. And I think, cause that's one of those things that a lot of people just don't quite get.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we're taking it even so far as, you know, if you go to our website right now, there's this classic realtor photo of my brother and I wearing suit and ties. And my brother is 6'4", 240 pounds, and has never worn a suit a day in his life. But for whatever reason, 5 years ago, I thought it was a great idea for us to pay this money to have these super professional headshots taken. And we're going to change all that, going back to the authenticity thing, because one, anyone who knows him looks at that and is like, okay, that doesn't fit at all. And then the second thing is that anybody that doesn't know him looks at it and has a hard time relating. Like, oh, that guy, he wears suits all the time. That's not for me. That's whatever. You just have to be who you are, and you have to produce a lot of it. And the best part is it's free. My marketing budget is almost zero. So to everybody out there, like, it takes time to build it up. There are other things you can do, but stick with it and just do it right day in and day out.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I really want to thank Larry for taking the time to talk with us. And if you want to check out the content the Gibbons Group is producing, check out the episode descriptions and you'll find links to both their Instagram and YouTube profiles. So once again, if you think you or somebody else on your team has an awesome story or a tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure you subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.